How are you doing? Thank you guys for joining us at this Toolbox series. We have a great lineup of speakers ready for you. And yeah, we're going to go ahead and get started. I hope you guys enjoyed the food. How many ate here? Anyone? Okay, was it good or what? It's rated very high on Yelp. So I'm hoping you guys have a very full stomach and have smiling faces so we can have a great time tonight.
And the restaurant's just around the corner.
And it's around the corner, so you can pick some up home on the way home. So thank you guys for coming out. So how many of you folks have been to our previous speaking engagements? Anyone? You guys are all new? Okay, he's here. Okay, awesome. Well, we wanted to tell you a little bit about our organization, Toolbox LA, before we get started. So Toolbox LA, we're an innovation hub, and we provide the resources and tools for entrepreneurs, startups, and businesses to collaborate and empower each other. So we actually we're opening a co-working space, and we also have a maker space, biotech labs, and it's just a huge playground for people to innovate and make things into reality. And I'm going to pass it on to Sean, who's going to talk a little bit more about our program.
All right. Yeah, highly recommend you stop by. It's kind of in a soft launch right now, so we have a few people buzzing around, and we're going to open our doors fully in about a month. And do want to thank the people at Hub 101 for letting us use the space. The Toolbox event series has been going on since February, and we try to do an event almost every month. And we try to do it also in different parts of LA, because what we found is that LA has a lot of awesome things going on, and people are just sick of heading to Santa Monica for any type of tech event. And there's more than whatever's happening in Santa Monica. So we did our first event there, and then we're trying to bring all those people to various parts. We did events in downtown, Pasadena, we're out here, and we plan to keep this going because there's a lot of amazing people doing incredible things in technology, and we should all be sharing in it. All right, cool.
And now I'm gonna hand it off to Carmen. She's gonna be talking a little bit about Make in LA, which is a hardware accelerator program, and I'll let her do the talking on that.
All right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Carmen Palafox, and I'm a venture partner at Make in LA. Make in LA is a venture fund that's 100% focused on hardware tech. So the Internet of Things, wearables, robotics, drones, anything that needs to be manufactured. We primarily invest in companies that go through our accelerator program. So it's a hands-on 4-month program where we take companies from prototype to mass manufacturing. And we have been going since 2015, almost 2 years now. Our fund has invested in 12 amazing companies. We invite you to check out our website at makeinla.com. And if you have any questions or are interested in getting involved, please reach out. My email address is carmen@makeinla. So enjoy tonight, and thanks for coming.
Okay, thanks so much, Carmen. So Make in LA is one of our proud partners that we do everything with. And so it's great to have that resource available. And yeah, get money, work on your startup. So now we're gonna actually start our speaking engagement. So unfortunately, Mattel wasn't able to make it. They had a last-minute cancellation, but we wish them the best. But we are going to actually start with Blake. He is a founder and toy designer for Innovating Studios, and so I'm gonna tell you a little bit about him and his background. So he has been in the toy design studio for the past 10 years as the corporate design director. Let me move over to his director, and he's led boys and girls products, graphic design, packaging, as well as an invention studio where they do all the research and development. You've probably seen some of the products he's developed, such as the toys for Kong Skull Island. And parallel to managing and directing all the creative development, he's worked in collaboration with engineering, costing and sales, guiding the workflow and trajectory of an item or brand. And you know, this approach has proven to directly result in awesome products. So He's also been nominated for Toy of the Year in Europe, and one of his inventions has been featured in Gizmodo. So give it up for Blake.
So most people think toys, they're for kids. Must be simple, right? Well, there's actually a lot of hard work and a lot of engineering that goes into it. It's not just fun and games. If you look at this, this is actually a patent from 1960 for Mr. Machine. And it looks pretty complicated for something being 50 years old. Things have only gotten even more exponentially complicated with tech. Ultimately, we all need to consider toys, they're not just kids' products, they're actually a consumer products dedicated to a younger demographic. So what's the biggest challenge that faces a designer doing something in this realm? Well, I think the biggest challenge is the demographic. It's really unique to the toy industry that we actually have to deal with three different main consumer groups. First, we have the buyer, if you're trying to sell into retail. Then you have mom, and then you have little Bobby or little Susie. Each one has a very different expectation of what they want to get. The buyer wants to pump retail dollars. Mom, she probably wants something educational. Little Bobby, little Susie, they just want something fun. It's kind of like designing tighty-whities for these two guys. It's a real challenge. So this is something that I've developed over the years of running the design studio. I call it the art of play. It's a strategy to develop for this market. So first, what is play? I think that's a real important question if we're designing a toy. Really, toy is, this projector is slightly off, so forgive, you're reading the next slide there. So toys, you can see, define us as a child. As we grow, it's how we interpret the world. It's how we intake data. It's how we process things and learn around us. And play is actually active. If you look at this brain scan of students taking a test, people who took a 20-minute walk before the test, their minds were way more active. Play is an action and it gets your brains moving, and that's what helps bring home that learning that happens. I think Albert Einstein put it the best when he said play is the highest form of research. Think about that. A man known for his brain, science, physics, super complicated things. He's not talking about that. He's saying play. Something as simple as play is the highest form of research. So, again, the slides are off, so it's making it kind of a little bit challenging. Okay. So, top image there, you can see if we're designing for humans, what is a human? Really, if you think about it, we are the hardware, and our minds are the software. So we've talked about the what, we've talked about the who. Now let's talk about toys. You can kind of see it here a little bit. That's an action figure from 2,000 years ago. You can see the bottom half right there. Toys have been around a long, long time. It's $1 billion industry. So how do you design something for such complicated demographics that needs to be fun? Well, there's four main cornerstones to developing for play. First is it needs to be engaging. Second, it needs to be sellable and marketable. Are you going to get people to pull out their credit card on your e-commerce site? Or are you going to be able to fit it in a 2-inch square space at Walmart? Logistics and pipeline. Is it something that you have the expertise to do? Is it something you're going to have to hire out? And lastly, hot design and styling. It's something that needs to look sexy, it needs to look cool, and also it needs to be ergonomically appealing to somebody, how they're going to interact with it. So it's a journey, the development process. So we have the foundation. Let's talk about the journey that we're going on to develop this product. It really is a journey. You can see here, it's kind of a squiggly line. Most people think, oh, okay, I'm going to design and develop this. It's point A, point B, point C. Well, there is no Google Maps for this type of thing. You do have to go on a journey, and you make wonderful discoveries along the way, and you make mistakes along the way. First step is you watch. Then after that, the next step is you ideate. And ideating is not necessarily sitting down for a cram brainstorm session in a one-time sitting. You need to curate your ideas over time, write them down, and then check your ideas against those 4 foundational stones that we talked about previously. If your ideas work with those foundational stones, you know it's pretty safe to kind of navigate and play with those ideas. That's when you go to the kit bash phase. This is where you take found objects and you bash them together. The term was actually coined from the model makers from the first Star Wars movies back in the 70s when they were making all the real effects. So once you've kit bashed and rapidly built with a screwdriver handle and hot glue and other things, you can get it in your hands and you can play with it. You can test your expectations. You can see if you were right, if you were wrong. You can see if you need to do something else. You'll make actually some really neat discoveries. At that point, after playing with it, you learn and you pivot, or you go and you refine that idea further. About 5 years ago, I started oil painting just for fun. And I learned something interesting that I think directly correlates with the design and development. Now, I know I'm talking to a group of tech people, so don't let me lose you when I talk about art, but I think it's a great analogy for the process of development. If you're going to make a masterpiece, you don't sit down and you go, okay, I'm going to draw a perfect eye. I'm going to move over here, I'm going to draw another perfect eye, and then a nose. Oh, I got everything there. Everything's in the right spot. You end up with something like this. You know, yes, everything's there, but it's definitely not a masterpiece. I call this strategy blocking it in. Most people, again, want to go on the journey of point A to point B to point C. Now, if you've checked your ideas across those cornerstones, you know you're safe to navigate and play around with them. Start loosely interpreting your ideas. Start making those kit bashes. Start playing with those ideas. And you'll start to make some interesting discoveries because you're not having to paint within the lines. You go, oh, that big thing in the background. I thought it was going to be a cloud, but actually it looks pretty cool if it's a giant mech. Oh, his arm, it looks all weird. Or, oh, the handle on this design is awkward. Maybe I don't even need a handle on this hardware. And you end up coming up with something that's pretty beautiful. And that's what I talk about, breathing life into the plastic. Because ultimately, we're making inanimate objects that need to relate to people, flesh and bone, people with psychology, and we want to touch their hearts, and we want to make these plastic and breathe life into it. So that's the art of play. I'll be around afterwards if you guys have any questions, and you can also shoot me over an email.
So now we're going to shift gear. So Paul Burbin is an experienced chief executive and entrepreneur who has founded and run 7 high-tech companies over the last 18 years. In 2010, he became the CEO of Boulder-based Orbotics. Orbotics has been building a new gaming device called Sphero that allows users to control a robotic ball from their smartphone. In 2005, he co-founded MarketForce Information, a consolidation of leading customer experience, mystery shopping, and market research firms. Paul is the former CEO and co-founder of Raindance Communications, a web and phone conferencing services company acquired by West Corporation in 2006. Before founding Raindance, he was co-founder and CEO of Link VTC, a video teleconferencing company. Paul is a distinguished graduate of the U.S. Air Force Academy also. So he's a very accomplished man, and he's here today to talk to you. So thanks. I will have Paul come up right now.
Yep, we can plug this in. Hello, everyone. Hope you're all doing well. So as I plug in my cable, how many of you are running a startup or a part of a startup? Let me see hands. Okay. How many of you are in the toy business? How many of you are in the tech industry? How many of you love robots? Let's see if this, yay, we got slides. These slides aren't as impressive as Blake's. I apologize. I just grabbed a few slides here. How many of you have heard of my company, Sphero? Okay. So that's good. That's a high hit ratio. I think our marketing department's doing a good job. Well, I'm Paul Weberian. I'm the CEO of Sphero. I became the CEO when the company was founded in 2010. And to put it quite simply, our mission in life is to connect the world of play. You all seen the movie Toy Story, and all the toys are talking to each other. We would love to make that a reality, and in order to make that a reality, we need to infuse our toys with technology. So when I go to a cocktail party, and I don't really know who goes to cocktail parties anymore, but when I go to parties or events, they say, "What do you do?" And I said, "Well, I make high-tech toys." And the company was originally founded on this notion of, let's take a smartphone and make it control a robot. And that was a robot ball. And that turned into what is now a pretty large company. We've had a lot of awards over the years, Toy of the Year. One of the funny things happened. Are you all familiar with Star Wars? Do you know who this guy is right here? BB-8? How awesome is it to make a robot ball product and then wake up one day and find out that the biggest movie of all time is using a robot ball as its main character? So we had the good fortune of being able to make a BB-8 robot ball droid in 2015, and we sold so many of these units that we were the #3 licensee in the world for Star Wars. So think about that. Hasbro had 150 products, and they were #1. Lego had like 75 products in the market, and they were #2. And we had 1, and we were #3. It's pretty exciting. But we do way more than just BB-8. I'm going to share a little bit with you, but I wanted to give you a little history of who we are. We found the company in 2010. We went through an accelerator program like Techstars, which is, I've heard about another accelerator out here. So these accelerators are fantastic ways to launch your business. And we launched our first product at CES. We announced it, but we started shipping it in 2012. So for those of you that ask the question, how long does it take to make a high-tech robotic product? It takes a year. It takes a solid year, and that's busting your butt to get it to market. And then we followed it up with a version 2.0. We sold 120,000 units in 2013. And this is a $130 robot. 2014, we launched our second product, Ollie. It's over there. And then we joined the Disney Accelerator, and that's where we woke up one day and we walked into a meeting with the CEO of Disney, and he goes, "Hey, I'm not supposed to show you this. Only a few people know about it, but here's a picture from my iPhone of the set of The Force Awakens, the new Star Wars movie, and you see that?" I go, "Yeah." He goes, "That's the new R2-D2, and it looks just like your product. Do you think you can make it?" And we're sitting there, and you're like, "Yeah, hell yeah, we can make that." It's exactly what we did. And it was coincidental is 2 months earlier, we made a prototype of putting a little top hat on our robotic ball. And so we knew exactly how to put a head on top of a robotic ball. So it was as fantastic as you imagine. And so when the product came out in 2015, we sold over 1 million units and became Toy of the Year on a global basis. And it allowed us to grow our business in a rapid fashion. And we added over 130 heads to our organization. And by adding all those heads in 2016, it allowed us to launch, we're going to launch 5 new products this year. And let me tell you what all of those products are, minus 3 of them, because they're not launched and they're super secret. But we have come out with a whole bunch of really cool products. The original products are the 2 robotic balls in the middle. The clear one is our education one. It's called Spark Plus. It's in over 10,000 schools. 600,000 kids are using it to learn about programming and STEM and STEAM education. Obviously, you see the BB-8s. You have the brand new BB-8, and then there's the battle-worn. Guess which one's more popular? The one that looks just like the one in the movie that's battle-worn, or the one that's completely fresh and new? Which one do you think is more popular? Who says battle-worn? Show of hands. Who says fresh and new? Fresh and new. Nobody wants a dirty droid. They want the clean droid. I wish we knew that before we made the dirty droid, but that's the bummer of the toy business. You think that consumer wants one thing and you find out another. That little guy in the back, Spider-Man, it's a really cool talking toy. It's perhaps the most sophisticated talking toy in the world. It's got this very sophisticated speech recognition engine on it. Really funny content, hundreds of hours of content, and that product just came out. And it's this incredible action figure that talks, and it's a really special high-tech toy. And this guy down here is Lightning McQueen. How many know Lightning McQueen? Cars 3. This is perhaps the most sophisticated consumer robotic toy ever built for the price point. It's a $300 robot, but when you see a video of it, it looks like it's all CGI. It looks like it rolled right off the screen. It has 6 motors, 3 processors, 2 radios, a custom LCD screen that's designed like a car window. It's an absolutely fantastic product, and it's really a hallmark of what our engineers are capable of doing. But that's our product lineup. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about what's it like running a startup. So, non-stop fundraising. So, I'm sharing all this because it's public. There's nothing magical about it. You can get all this information. But on the bottom line, it's called years. And on the vertical axis is millions of dollars. So what do you think the CEO has been doing every single year? I've been out raising money. So for those of you running startups, it's a nonstop job as a CEO. And what happens is when you raise money like we have, unlike some other startups, is we basically had to prove ourselves in the market every year. We went out, we raised $1 million, and they said, what can you do for $1 million? Oh, that's great progress. Here's $5 million. Great. What can you do with $5 million? Oh, that's great. Here's another $5 million. And so we kept doing it year after year after year. The only gap was 2016, because we had a really solid year. In 2015, we didn't need to raise money. And it's not that raising money means that you have a bad business. It's just that we are choosing to invest all of our profits and energy back into the business to grow. Because running a high-tech startup toy company is not about, just running steady state. It's about growth. It's about creating a market out of nothing that doesn't exist. And really, that's the premise of who we are, right? We woke up one day and we said, no one is making toys that are relevant for today's generation. They're making these toys that could have been made 20 years ago. And kids, their sole job in life is to grow up and to be adults, right? That's their sole job in life. And how do they learn? Well, they look to their parents, they look to their siblings, they look to the adults in their life, and they're all playing with these high-tech gadgets in their hands, and then they look at their toys, they're not. And so we said, why can't we make the toys as exciting as the tech that the parents are using, and also make it fun for the parents as well? And so that's what we've really strived to do, to create a body of technology that allows us to connect the world of toys. So, some metrics, we're now in 20,000 stores, 70 countries, over 3 million robots sold, 150 million plus in sales. It's been incredibly rapid growth to kind of expand that dramatically. But that's why we raised all that venture money. And I thought I'd share with you this. These are some early videos. These are like, after we raised $1 million. These are the very first Spheros ever made. Those each probably cost $1,000. They're handmade prototypes. And we were so proud of the ball being able to roll. And I'm going to, there's these moments where you cherish. But I think I have a video of the very first time we got the ball to roll in a straight line. And let me see, I don't know if the sound's going to come out of this. This is the ball. No, it's not. All right, let me do it back here. We can connect it. It's a 4-second video, so that's just, I like sharing some of the history because we'll see what happens. Okay, it's a short video, but enjoy. This is the ball rolling on its own, straight. Generally. So that's it. I'll leave it. I have a couple more videos if you guys want. But As a startup, things don't always go right, right? There's fits and starts for every company, and it's been that way for us. But it's a fantastic space to be in. And I was telling some people before the meeting started today that one of the most exciting parts about running Sphero is the fact that we have, because all these toys are connected, they can be programmed. And we can build apps that allow kids and parents and teachers to write software using simple block-based programming to make their robots do all kinds of fun things. And it's great when you see kids smile, but it's even better when they're learning at the same time. So we have a saying within the company, play is a powerful teacher. And one of the fastest growing segments of our business is our education segment. And we're super proud of it. And you know what? Technology doesn't just have to be something that's expensive. It can be enriching. It can educate. It can bring wonderment into our kids' lives and inspire their creativity. And that's kind of what we're all about. So I don't know how much time I have left, Charity, but yeah. So I'm happy to take questions now if anyone has it, or I got some, videos I can show you of fun stuff, but they're just, they're marketing videos, but they're cool. Yes. Yeah, so the question is our education business, is that a profit center for us, or is it just all charity? There's a little bit of both, but it's primarily profit. We invest millions of dollars into our education program. The tech is actually a small component of it. The vast majority of the investment we make is in making software that teaches kids things, as well as building curriculum around the technology and the software. And so it's a good business for us. It's a slow-growing business, so it's not carrying the weight of everything we do. We generate most of our revenue from the consumer products, but the education piece gets the benefit of us investing millions of dollars to build a consumer product, and then we can take that technology to the education market that, quite frankly, doesn't justify the investment if that's all we were doing. But because we're selling millions of units to consumers, the EDU market benefits from a very sophisticated robot that, the dollars invested to make that wouldn't justify it just based on the market. But it is a profit center for us. We sell direct to the teachers. We do a lot of charity where we give away our used products or sell them at a big discount. So for example, you sell 1 million robots, some people are going to return them, right? That's just what happens. You can't sell a used robot, but we can into the EDU market. They're perfectly fine, and we can sell them at a discount to schools that may not be able to afford our offerings. And we do help folks write grants and stuff like that if they can't afford our products. Yep, anybody can download it. It's free. It works with all our products. It's called Sphero EDU. If you were to download it now, you can use it on any one of our products, with the exception of some of the. You can't use it on Spider-Man, and you can't use it on Lightning McQueen, but you can use it on everything else. And it's not just for teachers and schools. It's for everybody, and you can access all the curriculum. So the question is what is the age groups that you and user groups that you're targeting? We historically have not made products for specific demographics. We just make products that we thought were cool, and then figured out that geek parents would buy them for their kids, thinking it's for their kids, but it's really for them, right? They'll buy it for their dog or their cat, but then they'll use it themselves. But I can tell you some stats that are pretty fascinating. So if you look at BB-8, and I don't care how you slice the age demographic, like 8 to 13, 14 to 19, 21 to every single age bracket for BB-8 is evenly represented, and it's 50-50 male-female. If you look at Sphero, it actually skews probably 55 female, 45 male, which is great because it's a high-tech product, and if you talk to the large toy companies, their higher tech products typically skew male. And if you look at Ollie, which is a super fast crash bang, go crazy robot, you think it would skew more male, but it's not. So across the board, our products are pretty evenly distributed boy-girl. The age range are typically, 8 to 13, if I say there is one hotspot across all of our product lines. And then with Lightning McQueen, it's a little early, but I expect it's going to be more younger. And Spider-Man, I expect it to be closer to the 8 to 13-year-old, and I expect that to be more male. That's my guesstimate. So each product's a little different. Yes. So the question is, do you think that parents want things that are more coding based or just more? So, or do they want free play and imaginative play? Steam is definitely trendy now. So we do see coding as a big drive, but I can tell you that our EDU robot is available in retail, but it doesn't perform that well in retail. Because while parents will talk openly about, oh, I want my kid to buy this educational thing, when they go to the store and the kid's screaming for the super fun thing, right, versus the education thing, they buy the super fun thing. But when you sell to schools, when you sell direct to the consumer off your website, then it trends more towards a more thoughtful purchase versus in a retail store where there might be that impulse buy or a lot of energy because you're bringing your kids along. You might go for the more entertainment segment. That said, the Apple Store is different. It's more EDU. So everything's one way except for Apple. It's different. This is the product that sells the best in Apple. Yes. If I said that we had our perfect marketing down, I would be lying. We struggle with how to message best. I think if I were to look at our marketing performance across the board, our best messaging is when we message to the geek, nerdy, high-tech, millennial, and that seems to resonate most. When we try to, go on Cartoon Network or something like that, I feel like I'm throwing money away. But I can tell you that for the EDU stuff, if you're interested in EDU, it's all teachers are on Twitter. That is the primary way to reach teachers is on Twitter. Okay, one more question? Okay, one more question.
My question, you said that most of what you're doing during the day is raising money. So what are the most creative ways that you could raise money that you're doing it so often and
So the question is since I spend my life raising money, what are some of the more creative ways to raise money and what are some of the best sources? I'm pausing because I want to give an answer that's relevant to the group as opposed to relevant to me. The best way to raise money is to get it from someone who's really rich and knows you well. And I say that a little jokingly, but I mean it 100%. And by really rich, it doesn't mean they have to be personally rich, but they may run a venture fund. If you look at the monies that I've raised over the course of my several companies, there's been some common threads. I've gone back to the same investor group over and over and over again. So if you build up a reputation, it's easy to go back and start something new. So in our case, a lot of the money came from one venture investor that I've had a 20-year relationship with. But if I think back in some of my early days when I was starting out as an entrepreneur, the term angel investor didn't exist, nor did the internet when I started. But the the idea of going and asking your parents, your rich uncle, your sister's husband's parents, or something like that, that is really one of the primary ways to raise money to get something going. And you just have to do it in a way where, never take money from family, all that stuff. Those are really good, things to live by. But sometimes, if you're so passionate about it, you can get over it, and maybe they can too. And so I encourage you to cultivate the network of people around you, because when you start a business, you have nothing except a PowerPoint presentation and your passion. That's it. I mean, entrepreneurs, you wake up and you go, there's nothing here. I'm going to create something. And you're creating something out of thin air. And in order to get that to happen, someone has to believe in you. They're not going to believe in I mean, the idea's fine and the PowerPoint's fine, but really it's the passion and commitment that you bring as an entrepreneur to take nothing and turn it into something. And then once you show that you can do that, then you're able to go out into the broader investor market. But there are so many awesome accelerators out there. Do your homework, do your research. If you can get into an accelerator, there's a much greater chance that you'll get funding. Right? So I'm really close to the Techstars network. Awesome, awesome program. Highly competitive, but if you get in, you have a really good chance of at least getting some money and some time and opportunity to pull off your idea. All right, guys. Hey, thank you.
All right, so we have another speaker, Bridge Carney, and we're getting set up with that right now. Bridge Carney is the Worldwide Director of Sales at Microduino in Westlake Village, so right around the corner. He started his professional career in civil engineering, but moved to microelectronics at the dawn of the PC age. He's self-educated in both the chip-based circuitry and coding. Carney then transitioned into marketing with achievements including writing the marketing specification for the first low-cost color impact dot matrix printer, and was among the first to use spreadsheets for sales forecast modeling. In his third professional phase, he moved into sales, including embedded controller software applications, and then to many types to hardware solutions. Aside from his roles at Microduino, Carney continues to provide sales strategy mentoring for early-stage tech-based companies.
So good evening. Again, my name is Bridge. The rest of my name doesn't mean anything. Who else do you know named Bridge? So that's me, Director of Marketing, Microduino. We're right on Townsgate. We are also a startup on the U.S. side, but it also had a head start in China because our products were the original core of our technology was designed by 4 engineers in China. Our CEO in the U.S. is one of the 4 and has been here for 17 years. And so we're new at a lot of phases on this. My presentation is to talk about STEM. Does everybody know what STEM is? Good. Then I can say whatever I want to say, right? So the source of the information I want to share with you tonight, because STEM is about education market specifically. These are the things that I've been to this year. The New York Toy Fair, I attended only, we did not show there. But we went to FETC, we went to the National Science Teachers Association, the Bay Area Maker Faire, International Society of Technology and Education, National Science Teachers Association, High School Association of California. So we've been talking to a lot of teachers, a lot of parents, and I think we have a fairly good bead on what's happening in the STEM arena for those that want to make products directed to that market. Last year, that market was a dirt path. This year, it's more like a trail. Next year, it'll be a small paved road. And the year after that, it'll start to become a 2-lane highway. It's not if it's going to come. It's going to come. There's no doubt about that. And it's happening in other parts of the world much quicker than it's happening here, unfortunately. I have to remember what I made. I made these slides up just for you guys. So when I click the button, we both get to be surprised, okay? Yeah, this one. So I went, you know where CES is. Do we all know CES? That's the big daddy in Las Vegas. That's where you get to find out what the new widgets are on the iPhone, and you get to play with really completed consumer products. How many intelligent toys are there? Not many at all. It's not an intelligent toy, except if you call your iPhone an intelligent toy, but that's for grown-up kids, not little kids. But I did go also to the New York Toy Fair. First time I've been there. Very expensive to get in. Not many people in the aisles, and it's not very fun. It's all buyers looking to do deals with their Lego, with their Mattel, with their Hasbro people. They're walking around very stern. They don't give anything away at that show. Very disappointing. But guess what they had for intelligent toys for schools? Nothing. Okay, it's a generalization, I understand. But if you look at the floor map, there was a little space way off to the right side, like one aisle full of sort of educational toys. The rest of it was plush toys, action figures, Legos, all these kinds of things that really have nothing to do with STEM. So it is also not a player for educational toy showcasing. So what happens? You're marketing people. Voila, I wave my wand. You're marketing people. What's happening in the middle? There's a thing called maker fairs that are springing up. 17 of them in the United States this year, about 35 around the world. Maker Faire has spawned off from a movement called DIY, do it yourself. This is a new generation of hobbyists that use intelligent stuff and make toys that way. The Maker Faire is where intelligent toys are really coming from. And they're really where these two are. The two big shows are in January. Maker Fairs are happening throughout the year in the United States. Very different kind of event. Families go to Maker Faire. This is not just for grown-ups. These are kids coming up. They run up to your booth. They want to see what you have. They want to play with it. So it's a really good look-see as to what really lights up the little kids' eyes. And that's an important part. If you're going to make STEM-related products, they have to enjoy what they're doing. This is like sneaking in the medicine with the sugar. Okay, those two guys just came late. But what they're showing is they're pushing the shoulders. They're owning the space where educational toys are really going to be coming from because they're not represented at CES and at New York Toy Fair. So where will the STEM education toys come from? STEM, of course, you all knew this. Science, technology, engineering, and math. There's also a variant called STEAM, which includes the word art. Now, I don't want to get into that, but I do think that good engineering is art at the same time, but I don't want to go into that right now. It's a little difficult concept to go in 10 minutes that I have. But if you want to talk later, let me know. So the STEAM toy value scale. Voila, I made this up. Starting at the bottom, mechanical assembly. There are toys out there where you simply bolt them together, you turn them on, and they run. I'm not sure how much educational content it is. There's some satisfaction on behalf of the student or the child who put it together. Electronic assembly, that's where you start to put wires and boards together. And now you start to put some action into that mechanical assembly. Now we start to hit where schools want to see action. And I heard that before. I mean, I've never met our two presenters tonight, but they said things very similar to what I have seen as coding. Coding is a thought process changer. How many people in here have done coding? Cool. Okay, you got it. You know how to sequence, you know how to organize random thoughts, you know how to put them in order, you know how to drink Mountain Dew and stay up to 2 o'clock in the morning trying to get that code right because damn it, something's wrong with it. And I'm going to internalize problem solving. So coding is a great way to impart problem solving into a young mind. Because when they see that they put something together and it didn't quite work right, they're like, darn, I got to figure this out. I got to figure this out. I got to figure this out. That will transcend just the technology part of it. That's also a life force. Personal statement. It helped me. It can help you. And at the top of the food chain, did I put some? Oh, yeah, problem solving. At the top of the food chain is creating code. That's where you start with nothing and start to create code. There is creativity in that process. You have to understand what it is you want to do as an end result and then write code to achieve that result. That again, is organization of the mind. It's what the schools ultimately want to see is not only am I teaching them a craft or a trade or a profession, but I'm teaching them a way to think about things that will help them be successful in many other ways. There are some products today. I didn't know who was going to be here today. I would have put their products on here. Paul's gone, right? He's not going to beat me up. There are some products that are breaking the ice. I have one over there. That's our itty bitty city. That's the thing that looks like a windmill. Well, why these products are successful, and I'll say this in a candid way, because we're all friends here, right? If you're not my friend, leave. If we're all friends here, is they're easy to use. Itty Bitty City is actually a consumer product, but schools are taking them because it includes the code, the electronics, and the Legos, and the assembly manual in a box. So it reduces the fear factor from parents not knowing how to do this stuff. But as the child gets older, they will start to understand coding and start to mess around with what you call the variables in code to make the windmill go faster, to make the light change, to make the direction of the windmill change. They'll start to monkey around with it and realize what I just did on this screen changed the way this device, let's call it the market term, this device works. That's a lot what STEAM wants to do, is create the engineering mindset, if you will, because that's what we need going forward. Okay, I get to do a plug. That's Itty Bitty City. You get to build 8 different projects. The code comes with it. Kids really like it. They walk up to the windmill over there when it's turned on and they say boo, and the thing starts to spin and the light goes on, and they're like, oh! It's really sort of a shock and awe that surprises even me. But they see that they're having a device respond to them. They don't have their Alexas yet, so this is sort of the cool first step. Okay, so quickly, vendors, pace, and STEAM. Intelligent toys will need to be compelling and stimulating curiosity. It's no good to just say you got to do something and it's not really interesting or compelling for the student. They got to want to do something here. Due to the lack of, this is big, due to the lack of in-school expertise of schools to develop lesson plans from scratch, STEM toys vendors need to provide quality lesson plans. Okay, important concept here. In every school district, they have something called a curriculum. So the curriculum is held inside of an electrified wire fence with barbed wire along the top. Teachers don't put anything into your curriculum unless it's approved. I've seen the curriculum police lady for Ventura County, and she doesn't look at anybody. She just walks right through a crowd like I wasn't even there. Curriculums are really important things to school systems. On the other hand, they have little maker fairs, or little maker space, or little maker lab. So they're all experimenting on the side, but you can't put it into the curriculum. So a lesson plan, if a product comes with a lesson plan, something a teacher can turn into a curriculum or wrap their own value around what you're providing, you've got a shot of getting into the schools in a bigger way. That's where your volume will come from. Vendors need to know the value components of NGSS and ISTE and incorporate it into the lesson plans. Oh gosh, I heard this 100,000 times. Oh, so are you writing this towards NGSS, the user's manual? The first time I said, what? Next Generation Science Standards. The other one is the International Society for Technology and Education. They have published standards, a little smoky, a little hazy, a little weird to read. Make sure you're sober when you read those things because they're sort of odd. The NGSS is more the domestic standard for the United States, and ISTE is for international. If you can write the manual with a lot of other stuff, so it's not just a manual on how to plug it in, turn it on, and make it go round and round. What else can you do with this? How does this help the world? Do you make friends with this? It's a little odd, but there's more to writing the manual to comply with this. And this NGSS ISTE is a gatekeeper for the schools. If you don't have it, they're not going to take your product. Now, right now, they're not enforcing that, but they're not also putting it into the curriculum. I got to go faster. Getting STEM materials into the public school curriculum fence is the big step. This cannot happen until, just as I said, the vendors had to do their STEM NGSS ISTE homework and incorporate those elements into their manuals. Don't just write an operator's manual. That probably won't get you far, or it may get you, but then the teacher, you're going to be paced by whether the teacher's willing to write their own documentation around that. And of course, when the budgetary funds are allocated, which has not happened in a big way yet. Milestones for schools adopting intelligent toys in STEM. Create intelligent toys that meet the curriculum requirements. Ooh, train the educators on intelligent STEM. Right now, there's a generational thing. A lot of teachers don't know anything about STEM. So that's a little bit of a problem. They have to be educated. And the schools allocate the budget. I think that's the last slide because there's a lot of dots on there. So that's a quick little peek as to what you're looking for if you want to get into the STEM market with your toy product. Thank you.
Oh, we got it. Thank you so much. That was great presentation, and as you know, kids nowadays are doing a lot of Maker EDU. We actually, at our facility, we have a maker space, and we even do summer camp programs for kids to learn 3D printing, and it's really awesome to see. I never got to 3D print when I was a kid, so. So anyways, we're gonna transition to our QA panel. So they're setting that up right now, and we're gonna invite the speakers that are here to come up, and Carmen's gonna be moderating. And so I didn't give you guys the correct intro for Carmen, so I wanted to properly introduce her. So Carmen graduated from the Executive MBA program at Berkeley Haas with a focus on entrepreneurship, new venture finance, and strategy. While in the program, Carmen consulted small businesses and startups in consumer packaged goods, clean tech, fintech, software as a service. Her projects focused on operations, fundraising, growth strategy, product pricing, and customer segmentation. She was formerly Vice President, Investment Operations at Dimensional Fund Advisors. Carmen joined the firm in 1996 when the company was relatively small, employing 50 people and managing $30 billion in assets. Over the course of 15 years, she scaled operations into new markets, including Latin America, Canada, and Europe. She managed and negotiated vendor and partnerships agreements, and she's very active in her community. So we want to welcome her to the stage. Thank you, Carmen. So you can come and grab a mic.
So, Bridgman, what is the most innovative maker fair in the nation today? Which one should we all go to?
The closest one. There's 17 of them in the United States this year. So I went up to the one in the Bay Area, but they're in Chicago, New York. They're actually in big cities and small cities. They're not really so much in towns, but with 17 of them throughout the year. I don't know if it's a franchise or somebody just has a template, but they all run pretty much the same way. They attract the same people. So look at the internet. People ask, what's the temperature in Connecticut? And I go, Google it. So like everything else, Google the maker fairs, look for a list, and go to one near you.
So which one has been your favorite this year and why?
Well, the why is easy. It's the only one I've been to this year, and it's the one up in the Bay Area. And it wasn't in San Francisco. It was down around outside of Cupertino. But it was very well attended, very well organized. A lot of fun. It's the combination of a county fair, a Mardi Gras, an expo, and a food fest.
Mardi Gras. So are kids allowed?
Yes.
Okay.
Actually, kids are the big difference between this show and any other show in technology you'll see. It's not just grown-ups. The kids are there, and they're there en masse because they're usually held on a Saturday and a Sunday. And the parents want to go there, and I think somebody mentioned Parents, like with our itty bitty city, we don't sell stuff off the floor. We just show it for demonstration purpose, and they go, I want to buy that.
And besides Itty Bitty City, what's the coolest thing you saw?
They had this big fire-breathing dragon. It was about 3 stories high. They do weird stuff at these fairs, and it blows out gas at about 30 feet in the air.
Oh, sounds like Burning Man. Are you sure?
Yeah. I know that everyone says, "Oh, it sounds like Burning Man." As far as what was the most interesting thing, we were so busy, I didn't get a chance to go do the show. Normally, you get to walk around and take breaks and stuff like that. There were 3 of us, and we just couldn't get away, so I didn't get to see much of anything else.
So, Blake, where do you see the toy industry in the next 5 years? How's it look compared to today?
Well, the toy industry is a quite antiquated industry, really. I'm coming at it more of a traditional, straight into retail, and like I have a toy at home that I've done a lot of flying toys, and I show this toy to people, and I say, well, what would you pay for this toy? And it's a flying toy. It looks okay. It's still in packaging. Most people say, oh, $10. And then I show them the toy was actually $10 20 years ago. It's an actual toy I got at like a flea market. And the surprising thing is 20 years ago that was $10. Now with the inflation, cost of plastic, cost of goods, cost of shipping, that toy really would almost be like a $20 item, but people are still only willing to pay certain price points. And that's one of the biggest challenges that I think faces is toys are kind of seen as kind of a frivolous expenditure in some ways. It's entertainment money. And people only want to spend so much on entertainment money. So it's becoming more and more of a challenge that you need to build in more and more into that product to get that sale. And there's so much competition out there. So it is kind of an antiquated industry that I think it's set for disruption. But there's a lot of hurdles to get past.
And so how can a young startup compete with so much competition out there?
Well, I mean, even like most of the business I've done is with Walmart domestically, and then other key retailers in other countries. It's shelf space. If you're wanting to get into mass, it comes down. It's dollars and cents. I've had instances where we've had one top seller in the entire toy aisle, and had it get dropped and canceled because they wanted to pump more dollars through that square inch. So if you think about it, it's like Malibu beachfront property. There's only so much of it, and they want to pump so much money through that space. So it's really, really hard to get into the retailer. It's really, really competitive to get that shelf space. It means someone else has to lose it. It's not like there's extra space there lying around. And literally, it's all mapped out. They have an entire store that is just a fake store called a planogram. But to answer your question, really I would say you build up your brand. You build up a following, start with e-commerce, show that it actually has success, or do a Kickstarter. Then you can get a meeting down in Bentonville, which would be like Walmart's headquarters or wherever you're trying to get to, and you have proof that there actually is revenue to be generated with this. But that's going to be really the only way. You can't just walk in and go, I got a great idea.
In terms of the toy market, where does the U.S. compare globally? Is it the biggest market, or?
Yeah, I would say the U.S. U.S. and Europe. Europe is different because you have lots of different retailers, and it's divvied up so much, and then all the different languages spoken. Whereas it's a much easier industry in the U.S. because you just have a lot bigger consumer base that's kind of similar.
Any questions from the audience? Awesome. All right, we'll start here because you're close by.
I was curious if you're not lucky enough to be Paul, who's no longer here. my memory, and I'm not an expert on this, there was buzz going into the toy season. I mean, you knew what the hot toy was going to be. I'm curious about social media and how, Twitter and does that play into, coming up with a vibe for something new? Has that changed, or is it still traditional?
You want to go for this one? Sure.
It's a new day. I would like to think it's done in the traditional way, printed media, things like that. The social media becomes essential because it is the buzz line. And if a couple of kids are positive about something, 30 other kids, 40 other kids see that immediately, and it starts to pile on. So that there's sort of a cascading effect if you can create that kind of buzz on the social media side. It also doesn't cost a lot. So there's a nice advantage there.
Question for both you guys. How do you feel that the rise of crowdsourcing platforms like Kickstarter and Indiegogo have affected the kind of startup community for these technical toys?
I mean, I think it's been a great opportunity for people to explore their ideas. Really, if you look at a lot of the Kickstarter campaigns, they don't generate that much money. I know I have quite a few friends that do it. They almost break even, but what is really worthwhile is it's the proof in the pudding. And it forces people to go through that journey and develop their product and hash out everything so that it's not just a concept or a PowerPoint presentation.
Yeah, the Itty Bitty City went through Indiegogo in its introduction. We had other funding besides that, but we had Indiegogo. You get great exposure. It's sort of like a super version of social media because people are combing through those things all the time. So not only do you get some money out of it to help your development, but you also get exposure for the first time.
So I have a question about the design process that you go through. Toys are a highly regulated, also a highly litigious category. So as you're going through the design process, where does compliance fit in? Like, there's so many different regulations around the world that you need to meet.
I always try to put as many sharp edges on everything. Start there.
In small parts.
That's working with the right factory. In China is really important. They'll help you go through everything, but everything does need to be tested through a second-party lab. Different types of items need different types of certification. Also, shipping to different parts of the world have different certification. It's incredibly a nightmare to have to deal with. It really is. And that's why you need a good partner overseas.
I would add on to that, the old Ford thing, the quality is built in, not added on. Same thing with product design is you got to have somebody who knows something about the child safety protection stuff as they develop the product so they don't go 3/4 of the way down the road and realize they got to go backwards 1/3 and go forward again because that's wasted money. So have some input, get somebody with knowledge to influence that design from the get-go.
I have a question. You brought up a really great point about the $10 toy, which now should cost 20, but people still want to pay 10. I grew up always getting used stuff from my older cousins. And when I got it, I valued it for years, meaning I didn't have a lot of toys. My challenge now as a parent is I got the robot that had a tray and we connected it to the iPhone, and a week or two, it was awesome. And then the interest level just dissipated. And so I feel like there's that psychology as well, that there's so much out there. There's the cheap toys coming out of China. Every movie that comes out, there's a little add-on, right, that you can buy. And then you have this tech toy that's $150 to $300. Even the BB-2, it was great for 2 weeks, and then it's just sitting in a drawer somewhere. Mm-hmm. So I'm just, how do you address that? Because it's like the interest level of a child when there's so many toys,
I mean, you've really touched on something important. I mean, because that's why parents want to spend less on it, because it's basically a commodity. Like, I've done a lot of foam dart shooters and things like that, and really, it's a summer toy. It goes into the trash at the end of the summer. They don't, even though these things can last forever, it is just it's, I've heard people call them Saturday morning fun, toys, or shut up toys. So the challenge is having kind of a sense of discovery with the item, getting it to kind of relate to people. Like for example, Kong over there. He's fully articulated and he's a lot of fun, and the kids can. He actually outsold Star Wars at Walmart. He was actually one of their top sellers, and there's a sense of 100 years with him. He's a 100-year-old license, and you can act out, and you can keep making your own stories with it. And things like you can either continue with, and you become the director, are one way. Also, if there's kind of a challenge base, another item I had done was a big bad boomerang. It's a giant boomerang. It's foam. If you hit your little brother in the face, you won't hurt him, but it actually does work. The key is the patented polycarbonate spine. But there's a sense of challenge. Like you throw it 3 times, you may not master it. So you need to keep kind of working at it and keep honing it. So there's different tactics to try to get a longer engagement.
What advice could you offer to someone like me that would rather license the ideas rather than go into manufacturing? And in that capacity, is there any kind of opportunity to work with each of you in that way?
You mean like as an inventor submitting ideas?
Yeah, and licensing my ideas.
You want to go for it?
Don't go to a big company. They won't let you in the fence because they don't want to be tainted or soiled by your idea, and then you come back and say that was my idea. It's like Hollywood scripts. If if you're not invited to receive it, don't try sending it to somebody because they want to say I never saw that. So I would go to a smaller company, sort of an import-export company. There's also a big company in town here. Anybody know Uncle Milton? Big company. And I bought something for my granddaughter. It was a moon that lit up and didn't seem to work right. And I went to call the number. And they have somewhere only like 70 or 80 products. So I went to call them and I go, holy smokes, they're in Thousand Oaks. So seek out smaller companies and just approach them and say, listen, what do we do about a product idea? And then protect your butt in trying to disclose that. So if they do come up with that product, you've got some sort of documentation that said that was my idea.
And within 1 year of coming up with an idea, you can get a provisional patent, which is pretty cheap. I would suggest to do that instead of like full-blown patent, and shop it around in that year so that it's protected. It'll save you probably about $15,000.
Or more.
Or more, yeah.
They can go up to $40,000 for a complex patent.
Hi. Oh.
Has Amazon changed the toy business at all? Shelf space is no issue.
Yeah, it has. I mean, Amazon's changed the entire retail face, and that thus has kind of changed the, it's still getting eyeballs, At the store, people are going to get toilet paper. They walk down the aisle, little Bobby's screaming in the cart. You got, a 30th of a second for them to see something and want to buy it. But you've got the foot traffic there, At retail, there's no shelf limit space, but getting people to land on that page is also a challenge. So that's where the social media and advertising and things come in to kind of drive it. There's also other tricks to throw coupon codes and other things to kind of move up your ranking and pay for endorsements and things like that. But each has its own battle to get the credit card.
Hi there. You mentioned Uncle Milton's who's here in Thousand Oaks. They're famous for the ant farms. They do that. Question for you because you brought up about the STEM education. Besides all the hurdles that you mentioned in getting into a school system, do you see a reluctance due to either the product not integrating with something that's already there or to build on? And on top of that, the fear that it's going to end up in a closet with all the keyboards that have been sitting there for all these years?
I think that's sort of yet to come. The first hurdle is the teachers are not familiar with coding. And if you take a look at Itty Bitty City, it's more complex. It will be popular in the future in schools, but right now it's a threat because you need to know something about coding. So I think that's the first thing we're trying to overcome is there's a generational issue in schools. Some people have been successful. Paul's been successful and educational to some degree, and but the generational part is some of the teachers need to retire and some new ones need to come in, and they need to be open to the goodness, the coding aspects, the top of the pyramid, and want that for the students.
So we're closing up now, and just wanted to thank our wonderful speakers. If you guys could give them a round of applause. You guys. We have some thank you gifts. So one for you and another one for you. So we're going to be closing up and just wanted to, let's see. How do I go to the next slide? How do I go to the next slide? How do you go to the next slide? Sorry for all the technical difficulties. But anyways, we just wanted to give you guys the opportunity to have a few moments to network, and we just wanted to make a quick announcement about following us online. We do have these speaker series recur every month, and we want to invite you guys out. We are always looking for ways to help connect entrepreneurs to resources, and we want to be that tool for you. So follow us at Toolbox LA, and if you want to come and check out our cool innovation hub and make something crazy cool, I'll even let you play with our virtual reality. So we hope to see you soon, and enjoy the rest of your night. Thanks, you guys.